everybody, it's Charlie again, and I'm currently playing High on Life. And this will be another replay review in 2025. And yeah, other than that, let's get into it. Hope you guys enjoy. What's up, guys? How's it going? We're back for another replay review. As you can see, beautiful environments in this beautiful game. So, High on Life is a game about aliens, and it's very goofy video gaming. So it's like a comedy, intergalactic comedy. You're basically a bounty hunter. You're trying to get all these targets, but the whole thing is really funny, kind of like Rick and Morty type of funny, right? Because those people contributed to this game, the people in charge of writing those jokes. At least that's what I heard. Anyways, the game is a lot of fun. It really gets you in there, having a good time from the get-go. Now, if this is not your kind of comedy, maybe this is not the game that you're going to care about, right? Luckily, there's portals to get around and stuff like that you unlock as you play through the game. You have some of your friends and family assisting you on the journey. A lot of crazy stuff happens that I don't want to spoil or explain. It's a game that has really good gunplay, in my opinion. Or I guess base level gunplay. It's not as good as Doom Eternal or anything like that, but it'll remind you of those games because the game, you use a lot of different weapons. Your weapons talk to you, by the way. If you haven't noticed, the guy has a face, the little gun has a face. And basically these weapons are called Gatlings. They're from a specific place where, as you go through your journey, you find different ones that they have different abilities, shotgun-like and other weird abilities as well. That you're going to be like, wow. The situations that occur in this game are really cool. Like right there's some of the combat enemy types. One of the negatives of the game is there's not a lot of enemy types. The game is not that long. And, but overall, you will enjoy your time playing this game, I think. So graphics, just look at them for yourself. They're really nice to look at. I can't really say anything negative about the graphics. I think they pretty much did a good job there. The framework, everything, the way it moves and flows, I didn't have a lot of issues. Here is the inventory, the stuff you pick up. Knife, another character, basically. He's basically a knife, but he serves as other things as well, like a grappling hook type thing. And they all talk the whole time. And yeah, like I said, it was not your kind of comedy. Some people didn't like that about the game. They were talking all the time. I find the banter back and forth and the comedy from Rick and Morty really funny. And this is basically Rick and Morty in another form. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you get used to these characters. They'll grow on you. It's not really an in-depth story. That's not the point. The point is for you to laugh and enjoy the gunplay, okay? You'll be rescuing humans as well. There's this whole thing with humans that is going to trip you out a little bit. Let's just say that. Trip is a perfect word. But yeah, among other things, right? So the environments are beautiful. It's a semi-open place, right? There is loot and stuff to find around the world and collectibles, but it's not like super open, so it's kind of hard to get lost. You do have a radar thing that you could use with the up directional button, and basically it'll tell you where you have to go next. So it's very straight to the point. It's just a fun game for you to get through and enjoy, right? Like I said, it feels really video gamey and goofy. But it also has, I believe, really good gameplay in general. With a few misses here and there, right? Sometimes the dash feels weird. But overall, I don't think, and the enemy types have different guns. There's not a lot of enemy types, but they have a lot of different weapons, which is really cool. And the boss fights are fun. And they're hilarious because the bosses have their own personalities and stuff, so it makes it even funnier, right? They're hilarious. Anyways, here's some of the card collectibles that you find. So basically, there's these loot crates type things. They look like aliens with little antennas. Open those with knife, and you'll unlock different things in the game as you go through. So make sure you look around when you can, if you want to get the platinum. I was trying to get the platinum and stuff, because that's what I usually do if I like the game. So yeah, crystals as well you collect. These are warp crystals, and there's additional surprises in the game that you won't immediately notice until you go back into it, and you'll be like, oh. And it's kind of hard to explain right now, but you know, if you have any difficulty, you'll figure it out. Trust me. If I can figure it out, you guys can figure it out. Anyways, right here is some of the traversal parkour. I guess the game's type of parkour. So you can find other things, like there's stuff, like I said, loot crates or loot boxes. I don't want to say loot boxes because you don't have to pay for any of this. This is in-game stuff you find. But basically, they're in weird areas where you have to climb and use some of that traversal to get up there. And it's just really fun because it gives you an additional thing to do in a very straightforward game that's only semi-open. So if you like mostly linear games, this is perfect. Because, you know, I play a lot of open world games, and to me something like this is semi-linear. Even though it does have pretty big open areas, just not too big, you know. Anyways, the characters, my favorite gun is Kenny. He's the first gun you get. I just like the way he talks, and he's really funny in my opinion. It's my kind of humor, kind of sarcastic, kind of sometimes goofy. And the other character, my second favorite is Gus, but I don't want to spoil the characters. You know, just know that they're in here to give you a good time, the best possible time you could possibly have. And there I am using knife to traversal. He talks as well, and he's actually pretty funny as well, but he's more of like on the violent side, you know. But yeah, there's not really a lot of complaints that I have on the game. I didn't have any freezes, any kind of weird issues with the game in general. I think it's a well-polished game overall. I didn't get stuck anywhere. Anything weird happened. You may die sometimes. It can get pretty frantic and difficult. It's not what it seems, you know. There is areas where you're overwhelmed. So remember to switch weapons and use different ones, kind of like Doom Eternal in that way, you know. You don't always have to do that, you know, if you're really good with some of the weapons. But I really enjoyed switching weapons. It's just, I think it brings an added satisfying element to the game, in my opinion. Some negatives. Well, another negative that I thought was basically sometimes the cutscenes, they may take a little bit too long. They interrupt the action in the worst. It didn't happen often, but sometimes when it happened, I just wanted them to shut up and let's keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because you kind of got into it. But overall, these sections are not that bad. You know. But like I said, they want to further the plot. It doesn't have much of a plot, and the plot that it does have is mostly based on comedic effect. So it's not like a serious plot. If you guys are looking for that, this is not the game for you. I'm going to tell you right now. This is purely a comedy game. There's serious undertones, though. You know, like saving the world and stuff is in the game. You're basically a hero. You know, you're a bounty hunter. And the way it happens, you guys just got to play it. You know, it has its own way. And then there is, you know, a lot of individuals that you meet and you talk to, and they have endless dialogue, which is insane. I can't even believe how much dialogue is in the game and how much comedy is in the game, because it must have taken a while to write all this. You know, this is basically a 9 to 10 hour game. It could be a little bit longer depending if you look for loot like I do. I get sidetracked all the time. I don't think there's a lot of side missions or anything like that. There's some, I wouldn't call it side missions, you know. But the designs to the enemies and, like I said, the combat is really fun. And yeah, just certain characters. I'm trying not to spoil things, you know. But good on gameplay, good on graphics, good on dialogue, good on characters. Stories, it's a comedy. Okay. But yeah, we're like more than halfway through the reviews. So I'm gonna give this game a 7.5 out of 10. Why? Because there is certain things that are lacking, but overall it's a good game. I think it's above average game that I think you guys should check out. It's currently free in the PSN store because I played this on a PS5, obviously. And yeah, I just think it's worth checking out and playing, if only to try it out, you know. And you may like it more than you think, in my opinion. I was really surprised. I was contemplating on an 8, but I think the comedy boosted it up to 7.5 for me, because like I said, it's very plain in the sense of first-person shooters. It's not meant to impress you, like like a Doom game or like I don't know, some of the other first-person shooters that everybody likes. But I think overall it does a pretty competent job, and the dialogue is what carried me through. The comedy carried me through, basically, because I wanted to know what else happens and what ridiculous stories. By the way, some of these enemies, they literally just stop and they start like booty popping. I have no idea why. I thought that was pretty funny to include in the game. That might be a spoiler, sorry. But it just cracked me up that they do that. But don't expect anything special. It doesn't do anything amazingly different. I just thought that the dialogue is really good. If you like comedy games like South Park and other games that are heavier on comedy, you know, maybe a Family Guy game or a Simpsons game, this one should be up there in the comedy department, I think. It just cracked me up. And look, there is even basically assassination kills type thing, special kills. So yeah, there's quite a few things that I think you will enjoy about this game. I did have a good time the whole way through. Obviously, I took breaks in between. I do have a full playlist on this game if you guys want to check it out. And I think if you don't want to play it, you could enjoy the playlist, you know. But I think you're gonna crack up quite a bit. You could genuinely hear me having a good time while I'm playing through this game. It doesn't have a lot of melee combat, I don't think. I think the knife is the closest thing to melee combat that the game has. But anyways, here is the basic options to the game. You can lower the banter on the enemies or on the guns themselves if you don't want to hear them so often. You could change your graphics, play on quality mode, which I don't recommend because I like 60 FPS. So obviously I played on performance. Among other things that you could change, sensitivity, switch that up to make it more enjoyable when you're turning and looking at the camera. But yeah, guys, 7.5 out of 10. I think it's worth playing. It's also currently free if you have a PlayStation or you're on PSN. I don't know on other platforms if it's free, but yeah, guys, 7.5 out of 10. Check it out. But I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe when you get a chance. And like I always say, go game.